Welcome to lesson 186 of our Course in Miracles. Salvation of the world depends on me. Here is the statement that will one day take all arrogance away from every mind. Here is the thought of true humility, which holds no function as your own but that which has been given you. It offers your acceptance of a part assigned to you without insisting on another role. It does not judge your proper role, but acknowledges the will of God is done on earth as well as heaven. It unites all wills on earth in heaven's plan to save the world, restoring it to heaven's peace. Let us not fight our function. We did not establish it. It is not our idea. The means are given us by which it will be perfectly accomplished. All that we are asked to do is to accept our part in genuine humility and not deny with self-deceiving arrogance that we are worthy. I guess when you read the title, Salvation of the World Depends on Me, that kind of carries an almost impossible tome of responsibility with it. How can I possibly, didn't Jesus already do that? All of these things, all of these thoughts that the ego will put into the mind to try and spook you into believing that you're not capable. But remember, God is within you. You're capable of anything. Our minds are suited perfectly. Ready? Our minds are suited perfectly to take the part assigned to us by one who knows us well. Today's idea may seem quite sobering until you see its meaning. All it says is that your Father still remembers you and offers you the perfect trust he holds in you who are his son. It does not ask that you be different in any way from what you are. What could humility request but this, and what could arrogance deny but this? Today we will not shrink from our assignment on specious grounds that modesty is outraged. It is pride that would deny the call of God himself. All false humility we lay aside today that we may listen to God's voice reveal to us what he would have us do. We do not doubt our adequacy for the function he will offer us. We will be certain only that he knows our strengths, our wisdoms, and our holiness. And if he deems us worthy, so we are. It is but arrogance that judges otherwise. There is one way, and only one, to be released from the imprisonment your plan to prove the false is true has brought you. Accept the plan you did not make instead. Judge not your value to it. If God's voice assures you that salvation needs your part and that the whole depends on you, be sure that it is so. The arrogant must cling to words, afraid to go beyond them to experience which might affront their stance. And I have people from time to time, and quite a lot of people actually, who tell me that during their meditations and things like that, they have these moments where they feel like they're being drawn out. And I think I've discussed this in recent videos, but being drawn out of their body or sucked down the plug hole or into the rabbit hole, whatever, however you want to express that. And I've had that experience myself. And you feel like you have to get out of there. You feel like you've got to get out of doing what you're doing, get out of the room, run away from the people you're with. It's a total adjustment. Okay? And that's exactly what's going on there. The arrogant must cling to words, afraid to go beyond them to experience that which might affront their stance. Okay? To experience which might affront their stance. All of these lessons, everything in this book, is directing you bit by bit by bit to bring all of your affairs into order so that they all true up and line up to that new purpose, that single goal that we have, which is reunification of our awareness of the singular nature of love. Okay? To do that, we do have to go beyond words. to do that, we do have to confront that fear. This is a journey into fear. Okay, but a little bit of faith goes a long way. And the more faith you have, the more faith you get, if that makes sense. Faith is its own reward. So doing these lessons, the meditations, your prayers, involving yourself in group activities, perhaps watching videos about salvation, studying the course, all that sort of stuff. All of that is a framework of support for you to be able to come to a tangible understanding, I suppose, of what it is that is both possible and necessary in the mind, in the conscious mind. We're only used to this bit in the mind here, this thin bandwidth of consciousness that has words and thoughts and things that we think are actually real, that actually doesn't exist. And to leave that behind, to have an experience of what actually exists, what truth actually is, brings up a feeling much the same as a little child lost in a supermarket from its parent. It's terror. There's that whole separation going on there. And it's the confrontation with that portal. I'm going to call it a portal. I don't know what else to call it. It's the confrontation with that place, that doorway. Jesus says, knock and the door shall be opened. It's the confrontation and the acceptance of what's required in that. You know, you can just step through it. Okay. But for a minute, that threshold is going to bring up total terror because it was coming through the threshold from the other direction into the dreaming realm that was completely terrifying. Right? And that wasn't into the world. That was into the void, let's say, that if you're an Eastern association, the void or the abyss of total darkness and all of that sort of stuff, however you want to call it, the fall from grace. Okay, so we're going back through that. And for a second, there's going to be this recollection of terror at the threshold. It's like, oh my God, I remember this. It's horrifying. I never wanted to use the power of choice again, because this is what it got me, the mess it got me into the first time I exercised the idea of free will. It's kind of funny. Anyway, let's have a look where we're at. Yet are the humble free to hear the voice which tells them what they are and what to do. Arrogance makes an image of yourself that is not real. It is this image which quails and retreats in terror, as the voice of God assures you that you have the strength, the wisdom, and the holiness to go beyond all images. There you go. You are not weak, as is the image of yourself. You are not ignorant and helpless. Sin cannot tarnish the truth in you, and misery cannot come near the holy home of God. Pardon me, hiccups. I just want to add to there that idea of you have the strength, wisdom, and holiness to go beyond all images, right, is exactly what we're talking about, or what I was talking about just a second ago in the threshold, going through that doorway. And I just wanted to offer you my assurance, I guess, having gone through that doorway and having confronted that terror. It was terrifying. It was totally terrifying, but just for a second. And in the moment that I realized, I guess partly because I didn't really have a choice, I was in the dark night of my soul, but in the moment I realized that I didn't have a choice to go through that terror, I realized that the only thing, simultaneously, the only thing that could get me through that moment of terror or bring me through to whatever was next was God. If God couldn't do it, then it says in the course, God takes the final step. You know, I just have to be willing to knock on that door and allow it to be open for me. So, all this, the voice of God relates to you. And as he speaks, the image trembles and seeks to attack the threat it does not know, sensing its basis crumble. Let it go. Salvation of the world depends upon you and not upon this little pile of dust. What can it tell the Holy Son of God? Why need he be concerned with it at all? Okay? Why be concerned of your body at all? Feed it, put clothes on it, do what it needs to do with it, do what you need to do with it, and then forget about it. Okay. And so we find our peace. We will accept the function God has given us, for all illusions rest upon the weird belief that we can make another for ourselves. Our self-made roles are shifting, and they seem to change from mourner to ecstatic bliss of loved and loving. We can laugh or weep and greet the day with welcome or with tears. Our very being seems to change as we experience 1,000 shifts in mood, and our emotions raise us high indeed or dash us to the ground in hopelessness. Is this the Son of God? Could he create such instability and call it Son? He who is changeless shares his attributes with his creation. All the images his Son appears to make have no effect on what he is. They blow across his mind like windswept leaves that form a patterning an instant, break apart and group again and scamper off, or like mirages seen above a desert rising from the dust. And I know that the imagery of the dream seems incredibly real. I mean, it's like, wow, I'm convinced. But having seen it disappear like that in the blink of an eye, or in the twinkling of an eye, as it says in the Bible, it's like changing the channel on a television. It's so fast. It's like click and it's gone. Everything that seems to have stability and seems to have tangible presence, I don't know how to is an illusion. All form is illusory. The video you're watching now, we're not really sitting here watching this video. I'm in eternity expressing something through this idea of time to bring about an experience in our minds of timelessness, to show us what reality is, so that we will no longer be fooled by the Maya, by the illusion. Okay? But the illusion is necessary for a while, because it forms a framework for being able to embody the concepts and principles of our salvation, so that we can learn of the power of our mind by getting the results of our thinking in educating ourselves how to make a new choice. In the place where the old choice at once time seemed to be the only choice that we had to be able to make, if that makes sense. These unsubstantial images will go and leave your mind unclouded and serene when you accept the function given you. The images you make give rise to but conflicting goals, impermanent and vague, uncertain and ambiguous. Who could be constant in his efforts or direct his energies and concentrate a drive towards goals like these? The functions which the world esteems are so uncertain that they change 10 times an hour at their most secure. What hope of gain can rest on goals like this? In lovely contrast, certain as the sun's return each morning to dispel the night, your truly given function stands out clear and wholly unambiguous. There is no doubt of its validity. It comes from one who knows no error, and his voice is certain of its messages. They will not change nor be in conflict. All of them point to one goal and one you can attain. Your plan may be impossible, but God's can never fail, because he is its source. Do as his voice directs, and if it asks a thing of you that seems impossible, remember who it is that asks and who would make denial. Then consider this. Which is more likely to be right? The voice that speaks for the Creator of all things, who knows all things exactly as they are, or a distorted image of yourself, confused, bewildered, inconsistent, and unsure of everything? Let not its voice direct you. Hear instead a certain voice which tells you of a function given you by your Creator, who remembers you and urges that you now remember him. His gentle voice is calling from the known to the unknowing. He would comfort you, although he knows no sorrow. He would make a restitution, though he is complete, a gift to you, although he knows that you have everything already. He has thoughts which answer every need his son perceives, although he sees them not. For love must give, and what is given in his name takes on the form most useful in a world of form. These are the forms which never can deceive, although they come from formlessness itself. Forgiveness is an earthly form of love. Beautiful. Ready? Forgiveness. In case I've forgotten to mention, this whole course revolves around that idea of forgiveness. Forgiveness is an earthly form of love, which as it is in heaven, has no form. Yet what is needed here is given here as it is needed. In this form, you can fulfill your function even here, although what love will mean to you when formlessness has been restored to you is greater still. Salvation of the world depends on you who can forgive. Such is your function here. Crazy. I love it, that idea of forgiveness. And I remember in the dark night of my soul, I didn't have A Course in Miracles. I had this Sermon on the Mount, which it may be a little sacrilegious to some, but it was the only... I tore it out of the Bible. Someone had given me a Bible years before, my friend Richard, and I tore out the Sermon on the Mount in the dark night of my soul, and I was reading. I'd been reading it for quite a while, for some weeks preceding that dark night, and that idea of forgiveness, I didn't know how to apply it. I didn't know how to put it into the spectrum of my experience in the world, but I wanted it. I wanted the peace that was offered through it. I didn't want any enemies, and I didn't want there to be anyone that even really needed forgiveness, including me. And that was the prayer of my heart. That was pure from the prayer of my heart in the dark night of my soul. And I don't know where that prayer came from. It just came up because I had nothing else. All right, well, that's it. Another lesson tomorrow. Peace.